There is a curse on Targaryen queens who win the Iron Throne, and House of the Dragon just confirmed it. Again. 3 seasons. That is how long we have all been waiting for this exact moment. Rhaenyra Targaryen finally sitting on the Iron Throne, the one her father promised her from the very beginning, back before any of this war even started. And in episode 2 of season 3, it finally happened. It should have felt like a triumph. After everything she has survived, after everything she has sacrificed, this was supposed to be the payoff, the moment we'd all been building toward. Instead, it felt like a funeral. And honestly, I think that was the entire point. Let's back up for a second, because Rhaenyra doesn't even get to enter this moment from a place of strength. She begins the episode in the depths of mourning her eldest son, Jacaerys. Jace defied his mother's direct orders. He didn't just disobey her, he literally locked Rhaenyra inside her own chambers to make sure she couldn't stop him. And then he flew straight into the Battle of the Gullet, chasing glory, chasing a victory he thought would prove something. He never got the chance. Jace and his dragon Vermax went down into the narrow sea. Vermax drowned. Jace was killed by arrows before he even hit the water. That is not how you start the episode where you finally win everything you fought for your entire life. That is how you start an episode where everything already feels hollow before it even begins. Rhaenyra hasn't even gotten to the throne room yet, and the show has already made sure we know this victory is going to cost her something irreplaceable. And yet, the war does not pause for grief. It never has in this universe. It never will. Word arrives that Aemond and Vhagar have left King's Landing. The window is open. Narrow, but open. Rhaenyra has to trust that Alicent has held up her end of an agreement to have the capital stand down for Team Black's arrival, allowing Rhaenyra and her forces to take the city with minimal bloodshed. Check this out. Alicent actually keeps her word, mostly, and Rhaenyra and Daemon are genuinely stunned by it. After years of betrayal, manipulation, and war between these two families, Alicent delivers on a promise that could easily have gotten her killed for making. So, Rhaenyra finally claims the Iron Throne that her father swore years ago would one day be hers, and it becomes the least glorious moment of her entire life. Here's what nobody saw coming. Before Rhaenyra can even sit down on that throne, she has to personally behead Otto Hightower. Now, she did go into this knowing some kind of execution would likely be required. Originally, she expected that person to be Aegon himself, her usurper, the one who took everything that was supposed to be hers. But actually swinging the sword, watching the life leave someone's eyes because of her own hand, that is something Rhaenyra had never done before. She had commanded violence from a distance for years. She had never delivered it herself. And this is the part that genuinely stops me every time I rewatch it. This isn't just any execution. This is Alicent's father, the man who spent years quietly orchestrating Aegon's path to usurping Rhaenyra's birthright in the first place. She hated him. She had every justified reason in the world to want him gone. None of that makes actually swinging the blade any easier. You can see it in her face, the hesitation, the tears. This is not a woman relishing power. This is a woman doing something that will haunt her for the rest of her reign. And then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife one more time, just to make sure the moment couldn't possibly feel like a win, Alicent and Helaena are captured and brought directly into the throne room. They walk in just in time to see exactly what Rhaenyra has done. Otto's body, the blood, the aftermath. There is no version of this moment that lets Rhaenyra walk away from it clean. Not with Alicent watching. Not with that history between them. So, she sits on the Iron Throne. Finally. At long, long last. And there is no catharsis. None whatsoever. In my opinion, this is the single most important choice the show makes in this entire episode. It absolutely refuses to let this be a celebration. Refuses to give Rhaenyra, or us, the satisfaction we've spent 3 seasons waiting for. She is traumatized, nearly broken by what she just had to do. The moment she has been building toward for years finally arrives, and it is anticlimactic, quiet, hollow. There is no music swelling in triumph here. Just exhaustion and grief. And the road ahead does not get any easier from here. Aegon is still out there somewhere, alive and dangerous to her legitimacy simply by existing. Aemond is still out there too, wounded but not defeated. The war that has consumed 3 full seasons of this show is far from over. She just paid an enormous, irreversible price for a throne that comes with absolutely no peace attached to it. Do you think Rhaenyra even gets a moment to process any of this before the next crisis hits? Because based on how this show operates, I genuinely doubt it. Here's what really gets me, though. Stop and think for a second about who is actually standing beside Rhaenyra in that moment. Who is actually there to witness her finally becoming queen? The road to this throne cost her 2 sons. 2. Lucerys before this season even began, and now Jacaerys in this very episode. By the time she finally sits down on that throne, the only person remaining from her original inner circle standing there with her is Daemon. That's it. That is genuinely all that's left. If you look closely at that parallel, and I don't think this is an accident, it is almost identical to something this universe has already shown us. Daenerys Targaryen, Rhaenyra's own descendant, lost 2 dragons that she considered her own children right before she briefly claimed the Iron Throne in Game of Thrones. 2 children, 2 dragons, 2 queens, generations apart, paying nearly the exact same toll for the same chair. That symmetry is genuinely chilling once you notice it. This franchise is telling us, very deliberately, that this throne does not get claimed without sacrifice on this scale. It never has. It never will. Now, House of the Dragon is a prequel, which means most of us already know how this particular story rhymes. We watched Daenerys' ending first, years before we ever saw Rhaenyra's beginning, and it was brutal. In the final season of Game of Thrones, Daenerys becomes the villain so many fans never wanted her to be. She is killed by Jon Snow, a man who loved her, because he feared she had finally become the Mad Queen everyone had been warning about for years. Here's the cruelest detail in all of this, though. Daenerys never actually gets to sit on the Iron Throne. Not once. Jon kills her immediately after her victory speech to her Dothraki and Unsullied armies, standing in the burned ruins of the Red Keep, and then Drogon, in grief and rage, melts the entire throne with dragonfire. It's gone, destroyed, forever. So, in a strange, almost tragic way, Rhaenyra actually got something her own descendant never did. She sat down on it. She was acknowledged as queen by her loyal followers, however briefly, however joylessly. That is an incredibly low bar to clear. But within this franchise, it's still more than Daenerys ever received for everything she gave up to get there. 2 Targaryen queens, 2 ascensions to that same throne, both soaked completely in violence, both utterly without joy. Daemon killed several Team Black loyalists and personally beheaded Lord Jasper Wilde just to secure the Red Keep ahead of Rhaenyra's arrival. Brutal, undeniably. But it pales completely in comparison to what comes generations later. Daenerys burning the entirety of King's Landing to ash with Drogon, killing countless innocent civilians who had nothing to do with the war at all. It remains genuinely unclear exactly how much Daenerys knew about her ancestor Rhaenyra by the time her own story reached its end. The show has given us a vision of Daenerys appearing to Daemon at Harrenhal, which strongly suggests some kind of connection is being deliberately built across this entire franchise. But even if Daenerys somehow knew the full tragic story of what happened to Rhaenyra, she still walked into her own reign believing it would be different. Long, prosperous, glorious even. This franchise has made its position on that belief abundantly, repeatedly clear. Fire and blood does not buy peace. It never has. Not for Rhaenyra, not for Daenerys. Not for a single soul who has ever sat in that chair throughout the entire span of this saga. This is the part I keep coming back to. The Iron Throne in this universe isn't a prize. It's a debt. And every queen who has ever claimed it has paid for it in exactly the same currency. Children, trust, joy, peace of mind. So here's my question for you. Do you think Rhaenyra's reign somehow ends differently than Daenerys's eventually did? Or is this curse simply inescapable for every single Targaryen who claims that throne by force? I genuinely go back and forth on this one. Drop your theory in the comments. I want to know where you land. I'll see you next week.